edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. You're watching us now on YouTube and Twitter. If you are, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We are presented by our partners over at Bet Rivers, and we are also being broadcast on Sirius XM channel 80 for the ESPNU station. I am joined by my lovely co-host tonight, my partner in crime over on the DTF podcast, Terrence Oglesby, former Clemson guard and Pitt legend. Yes, I am calling him a legend, the one and only Ashton Gibbs. There's a lot of shooters on this broadcast right now. We have plenty to get to. We are going to be reacting to this UConn Butler game live. We have to talk about what happened with Penny Hardaway and Memphis and his press conference. It is a mess down there. We have Jim Larinaga joining us. We have Rob Phinisee joining us. We are going to be talking about Shannon Sharpe. But first and foremost, we have to talk about what happened in Assembly Hall this evening. Indiana takes down number 4 Purdue 68-65 on a game-winning 3 from Rob Phinisee in a game that they kind of controlled for most of it. So, T.O., I'm going to you first on this one, man. What a game. What a basketball game.
Unbelievably competitive. And I've been to Assembly Hall to watch them play Michigan, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago when Crean was still the coach. Feels like eons ago. But what an environment there in Bloomington. I mean, incredible, really. And when that place is rocking, it has an effect. And it had an effect on Purdue today. I think Travion Williams had a hard time holding on to the ball in the first half. Jaden Ivey, that foul in the first half that gave him his second where he pushed off, I mean, that had major implications on the game. So the environment, the energy, the rivalry, first one since Yogi Ferrell, right? 2013, that they've won against Purdue, not at home, not away, like against Purdue, period. And that is a big time win for Coach Mike Woodson. And guys, you want to know why you pay me the big bucks? I'm going to tell you why you pay me the big bucks. And it's this stat right here. When Woodson wears a suit, Indiana's 13-0. When he wears a jumper, they're 1-4. And I think that's significant. Bring suits back to Bloomington. Bring suits back to Bloomington full time. Indiana's a Final Four team if Mike Woodson's wearing a red tie.
To put this into perspective, T.O. has been telling us for an hour that he has an unbelievable stat about this game, and that was pretty good. Ashton, what are your takeaways, man? That's an impressive win, a statement win from the Hoosiers. And I think we lost Ashton. He is frozen over there. So, T.O., I'm going back to you. That was an impressive win.
Man, the Rob Phinisee show, especially in the first half.
Go ahead, Terrence.
Yeah, it turned into the Rob Phinisee show. I'm just going to allude to what Ashton was talking about. I mean, Rob Phinisee was terrific. This is a guy who came in averaging 4 points a game. And he's been through a lot of trials and tribulations during his time in Bloomington, and he's really struggled to get going. But today, I think he hit his first 5 shots, if my memory serves me correctly, and he did it in a variety of ways, taking it to the basket, using his quickness. IU fans, they've been hard on him, and I'm not sure it's deserved, but he stepped up in a major way off the bench, and he was rewarded in the second half. And the thing that was unique, too, you could tell he was a senior. In the first half, Phinisee, he was really aggressive to score. You could tell in the second half they were geared to stop him. He didn't force the issue. He didn't take a shot until his first game-winning attempt. Took 2 shots in the second half, 1 of 2, the biggest of which in the game was that corner 3 off a baseline out of bounds, which, I mean, what a draw up. He comes off, sets his feet, shoots it right over the top. That was a big-time shot in a big-time game. And you got to be happy for Coach Woodson. A lot of people doubted that hire. They're doing a pretty daggone good job so far there in Bloomington.
Yeah, and I think the best sign is that it's guys that are kind of coming in, right? It's not necessarily what was still on that roster, and you have an NBA coach coming in and kind of coaching them up. Trace Jackson Davis didn't play. Played 11 minutes tonight, right? Yep. Like he was in foul trouble the whole game. Rob Phinisee, who we're going to hear from here in about 5 minutes, told us that he was banged up anyways. He wasn't even healthy. This was Xavier Johnson coming in and giving them 18 points. This was guys like Miller Kopp making plays. This was guys like Michael Durer, who came in off the bench to replace Trace Jackson Davis and do a great job, and not a good job, a great job on Purdue's massive front line. Normally what you see is someone like a Zach Edey and someone like a Trevion Williams just wearing out opposing 5-men. Trevion Williams was 1 for 4 from the floor. He was credited with 4 turnovers. I swear he had at least 11 in the first 3 minutes that he was on the floor in this game. He just couldn't pass the ball to somebody that was wearing black tonight. So I'm going to go to you, Ashton, here. What is, to me, the concern here is if you're going to allow Rob Phinisee and Xavier Johnson to look like they are the best backcourt in the country, like we might have some reason to be concerned about Purdue's perimeter defense.
I think so. It was a lot of straight line drives. They couldn't keep guys in front of them. And I think, especially with Xavier Johnson, he's a proven guard for the most part. You know, I'm a pick guy, so he let us down a little bit leaving. But overall, like I think very highly of him just as a player. You know, me and T.O. were just talking about his approach to the game, his mindset, I think is what separates him. And that's what he did. It was a big game today against the top 5 team in the country, and he proved himself. Also spoke volumes about Rob Phinisee in the scheme of things. Just playing really, really well with an aggressive mindset, especially in that first half when Trace Jackson Davis went out with foul trouble for the most part. With him just looking at the basket, looking to score. Indiana, that's been their issue, I think, throughout the whole season is perimeter guard play, and both of those guys really proved themselves today.
T.O., how hard is it to have guys kind of step up in those roles? How hard is it to win a game like this when you don't have your All-American playing?
I was the most worried in the first half because somebody hit me up. They were like, hey, how's Indiana keeping up, Trace Jackson Davis? I was like, well, I'm not sure this is sustainable. One thing that you do know about Indiana is that Trace Jackson Davis is going to show up. And to have that extra boost from other guys in a rivalry game, obviously that plays a big factor. But I think another thing too, that being a rivalry game, kind of referring back to, we were talking about what's wrong with Purdue. Are they guarding? Are they doing this? Whenever Jaden Ivey went out of the game, they lost rim pressure on the offensive side of the ball because he was the one guy that could get downhill. The rest of Purdue, they have some guys that can kind of do it, but nobody that can put massive pressure on the rim. Whenever he had his second foul, that little shove on the baseline, Indiana went on a 16-2 run right away because his ability to control the ball and control the tempo on offense changed the game for them. Whenever he played, they were significantly better. This is a learning game for Purdue. I'm not losing faith in Purdue, and I don't think anybody else should. But Jaden Ivey's still young. He's a young sophomore. I think this is something he's going to look back on and be better because of, especially, losing his temper and only getting a flagrant. I think it was a flagrant 1, right? This is a significant game in his development as being that go-to guy for Purdue.
I wish they had another camera angle on that one because there's no way that he's reacting like that if Trey Calloway is not doing something. Like there had to have been something. Maybe gave him like a little, a purple nurple or something like that. There was something going on there that caused him to react. You don't just shove somebody out of nowhere. I get that you're frustrated.
Yeah, but what's the quote from Blue Chips? Penny Hardaway's mama. We're going to talk about Penny later. Penny Hardaway's mama. It's not a foul if the ref doesn't blow the whistle. Can't act like that. And your boy, your guy from Michigan did that to me. I got kicked out of a game because I reacted, but nobody saw the first one. Nobody saw the first one. So there you go. I mean, you gotta maintain your composure, especially when you're as talented as Jaden Ivey. I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, 100%. What I do want to ask you guys is this. You both played at the highest level. Assembly Hall was rocking tonight. The best thing, I've said this over and over again, the best thing about college basketball, it's never going to be the quality play on the court, right? College basketball is never going to be bigger than football. It's never going to be bigger than the NBA or better than the NBA because the players just aren't as good. But what it makes up for is the atmosphere, the environment, and that environment at Assembly Hall tonight was unlike anything we've probably seen in a long time, since at least March of 2020.
2 years. I mean, 2
guys
years
going nuts. Yes, it was. So Ashton, what when a crowd is going like that, what kind of impact does it have, not just on the players, but on the way that officials handle the game?
It depends on team to team, Rob. Sorry to interrupt, Ashton.
I think it affects everything. And just
go ahead, Tio.
It depends on team to team. Obviously, older guys, we looked at different situations throughout the country. I mean, Miami goes up to Duke and wins because they have older guards. I think that's become readily apparent. And I think the talent pool is so much bigger this year. I think certain teams are going to be able to handle it. But obviously today, Purdue has some older guys, sure, but some of the guys, like, it's loud. And we found last season how much the game missed what's the right word? The atmosphere. The college basketball is so much more than the game. And it's not just the players that are affected. Referees are affected too. And I think that's plain to see, especially in an environment like that. I mean, I've been in some loud arenas. Played at Carolina, went into double OT. That was loud. Played at home. We beat Duke by 30. That was incredibly loud. Like, it affects things, and people are human. It's as simple as that. Referees are human. Coaches are human. Players are human. Everybody in there's going to be some ruckus things happening, and it only makes the game better. You're absolutely right.
Well, if you want to talk about great crowds, great student atmospheres, you want to talk about something special, how about this? Rob Phinisee hits the game-winning shot. He gets the court stormed on him. He gets carried off the floor by the fans. That moment meant a lot to him. We were joined by Rob a little bit earlier tonight, so we're going to cut to that interview right now. Let me welcome to the Field of 68 After Dark, the man of the hour. It's Rob Phinisee, fresh off of a game-winning three to beat his rival, to beat number 4 Purdue, to set off a court storming. How you feeling, man?
I feel great. I mean, words can't really explain how I feel right now. It's really up to my teammates. They played great. I'm just really overwhelmed right now. I mean, words can't really put in perspective how I feel right now. So, yeah.
Rob, man, you started off slow for this season, but tonight you caught fire, man. You look really good, especially in the first half. What allowed you to really do that, especially in the first half when you were really looking for your shot?
Yeah, honestly, I had a talk with Coach Woodson earlier before our shoot around today, and he just told me that he's in my corner. And he really believes in me, so he just wanted me to go out there and play free. So I know when I win in, I'm going to be really aggressive and. I really just played my heart out there, and I just really wanted to beat Purdue. I mean, I was 0-6 against them, and we finally got a win.
I tell you what, you said he had faith in you. He proved it at the end of the game, and not many guys, Rob, get 2 chances at a game winner. It was a great first set. You come off, it barely rims out, and then the second one, you get over in the corner for the game-winning shot, and you bury that one. I mean, tell me about that shot, especially the second one. The first one, you could see it on your face. It was like, oh, man, it was a close one. The second one, though, it must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I caught it, I knew I was going to shoot it. So, yeah, we actually just put that play in this past week. So it was a new play. And Race just set a good screen on St Bonaventure, and I got open and just made the shot.
If there's anything that the people on this show can relate to, it's catching the ball and being ready to shoot it. I can tell you that much.
I can promise you. I got another thing for you too, Rob. So it's been a tumultuous 4 years for you, man. Like coaching changes, players in and out. There's been a lot going on. You're a 4-year guy. Like, how gratifying was it for you in Assembly Hall, hit the game winner? They picked you up. They carried you off the court. I mean, you're the man on campus right now, baby. How nice is it after everything, through all the adversity and everything that you've been through personally? I mean, to be I guess the right word is adored like that, man. It's big time, man. It's big time.
Yeah, I mean, the fans have stuck through me with everything, up and down, through all my injuries, through the bad games I had, the good games I had. So, I mean, that feeling is something I'll never forget. I really just love my teammates. This is kind of a completely new team this year. And everyone really just stepped up and did their part. And we just have to celebrate tonight and then just get ready for Michigan.
So you guys just beat the number 4 team in the country, and your All-American center basically didn't play because of foul trouble, more or less, right? So what does that say about your group moving forward? What does it say about this team?
Oh, that everyone stepped up and was ready to play. I mean, he was honestly hurt from the last game, so he didn't really know how much he would be playing today. I mean, he got an early foul trouble, but Big Mike came in and stepped up. I mean, just him being his leadership he's had all year, and him just being ready to play really helped us, and he gave us a big boost off the bench.
All right. Well, listen, Rob, I appreciate you being here. I just got one more question. Are we hitting Kilroy's tonight?
Nah.
Hey, meet Rob at Kilroy's. Meet Rob Phinisee at Kilroy's. He's the man on campus. Go say thank you, IU. Go say thank you.
Listen, Rob, congratulations, man. Soak it in. Enjoy the moment. It was a lot of fun to watch. Thank you for being here.
All right, let's see.
I know T.O. is trying to get to Kilroy's right now.
I've been to Kilroy's. I'm not going back to Kilroy's. That's all I'm going to say about Kilroy's. So that's as far as this conversation goes.
All right. So real quick, let me ask you guys this. Indiana now has their marquee win, the elite win that they needed. They've also beaten Ohio State. They have a win over Notre Dame at home, but that is the extent of their quad 1 and quad 2 victories so far this season. They are 3 and 4 against the top 2 quadrants. In your minds, Ashton, I'm going to you first on this one. Now that you are hardwired in for us, are they a tournament team? I mean, they're a tournament team, right?
I think they're a tournament team. I think this solidified it for me. Just the way they play without Trace Jackson Davis, to be honest. The eye test, I was iffy on their perimeter guys, I'll be honest, in terms of Xavier Johnson and even Parker Stewart a little bit. I thought he was one of the guys that, he averaged 19 points last year at Tennessee Martin. I was expecting him to have a little bigger impact. But he's playing okay. I just think he can do a little bit more. But overall, Indiana, I just think it was a huge statement winning at home against a really good Purdue team. And I think the way they did it more than likely with, holding Jaden Ivey, really getting into him. He was emotional. The crowd was really into it. And they did a really good job on Travion Williams tonight. So just looking at the eye test for sure, I think they're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, and welcoming in everybody that just finished watching the UConn Huskies take down Butler in Hinkle Fieldhouse. We're talking about Indiana and Purdue right now. T.O., I want to head to you on this one, man. Where we've talked ad nauseum about who's the best team in the Big Ten. Is Purdue the best team in the Big Ten? Are they winning the Big Ten title? I'm kind of at the point where I don't think that there's a best team in the Big Ten, and I don't think that there's a best team in college basketball. I just think there are a whole bunch of really good basketball teams this year.
Well, you have an extra year's worth of players, and you're going to have that for the next 3 years. I mean, that's so significant because now your role players on obviously the Power 6 teams are typically transfer ups and things of that nature. There's just more players available. And I don't think there's a dominant number 1 team. I'm in complete agreement. I mean, even Auburn, who a lot of people, including myself, has holes. I mean, significant holes. You never know what you're going to get offensively. The effort's going to be there, but there's holes there with Auburn. Gonzaga, can they handle athletic bigs? That's a big question. Drew Timme has shown over the course of 2 years he's not been able to do that. But the best team in the Big Ten, there's 3 right now with 1 loss, and I have a hard time arguing with any of them. Michigan State, they've been a surprise. I think a lot of people pick them towards the middle. But defensively, they've been terrific. And Tyson Walker and A.J. Hoggard have been better than a lot of people anticipated. So it just depends from night to night who's gonna make plays, who's gonna have the best player on the court. So right now, it's for me, Big Ten wise, it's either Illinois or Wisconsin because Johnny Davis is the best player on the floor every game he's going to play in that conference.
But you know what else it is in the Big Ten? We talked about the home court advantages before we went to the interview.
They're brutal.
It's the Big Ten road games are a nightmare. If you look at where Purdue has struggled this season and has lost, it is those road environments and those road games. And I wonder, like, part of that probably has to do with the fact that we have questions about their point guard play, right? But it's also just road games are never going to be easy in college basketball. They just aren't. That's what it is. Road games are not easy in college basketball. That's the bottom line, right, Ashton?
Oh, for sure, man. And that's really what you go to college for. I think the experience. We talk about the atmosphere. Obviously I was fortunate enough to play in the Oakland Zoo, and that was, a 6-man to an extent. So that's what college basketball is all about, is playing in raucous atmospheres and being in the Big Ten, you go to Wisconsin, you go to Purdue, you go to Illinois, all of these, crazy atmospheres. That's what it's all about, is having that home court advantage, man, for sure.
Hey, Ashton, it used to be the zoo. Now it's the petting zoo because they haven't won that many games in a long time. So everybody, whenever you go and play at the petting zoo, make sure that you're ready. It's a petting zoo right now.
I can't even come back to that. That's the crazy thing. I have no comeback.
let me welcome everybody that is joining us right now on SiriusXM, ESPNU channel 84. This is the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. My lovely co-host here, Clemson's Terrence Oglesby, the guy that's out here taking shots, and Pitt's Ashton Gibbs, the guy who's out here catching strays, just trying to talk a little bit about Indiana basketball, just getting killed by his new ACC rival. We are live right now on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. We are going to be here every single night at 11 p.m. You guys just watch UConn get a win. Let's talk about it for just a minute. Ashton, you were a Big East guy. T.O., you are a defined Big East guy at this point.
Huge.
So Ashton, I'm going to you first on this one. Who's the best team in the Big East right now?
I'm still a Villanova guy, man. And the reason why I say that is their identity. They know who they are, regardless. You said they had a tough loss to Marquette, but in the scheme of things, they were just missing shots. In the scheme of things, I think they still get the shots that they want ultimately. Jay Wright, just a winning pedigree. Guys are really under control on offense. I love the way they throw Colin Gillespie even into the post, and he could pass out the post. He makes plays. The way they, just play unselfish and inside out. Eric Dixon inside, Colin Gillespie on the outside, and they just know who they are. I think the identity is the biggest reason that I really like Villanova heading into the conference season and then in the NCAA tournament.
T.O., are you finally going to give my Huskies some respect? Or are you going to tell me that 2-4 Seton Hall is still the best team in that league?
Hey, I love Seton Hall. They might be the unluckiest team in that league. And I think full strength Seton Hall still up there as one of the best teams in that league. But let's just be honest. Let's just call it what it is. This league right now belongs to Providence. Noah Horkler had a game. I'm a Friar. Let's go. They got the best defender in the conference. I don't want to hear about your wrench. The wrench at UConn. I don't want to hear about your wrench. I don't want to hear about that at all. But they have Noah Horkler. They have best 5-man probably in the league, and Nate Watson, and they're leading the Big East. So go ahead and give me the Friars. Give me the Friars right now, because Ed Cooley is holding it down over there.
All right. Well, listen. Producer Dagan Hughes just told me that we have the audio from Penny Hardaway's rant at a press conference. We're going to tee that up here in 1 second, but let me state my case for my UConn Huskies on why they're the best team in the league. One, they are the best defensive team in the league right now. I understand that Seton Hall, you love Ike Obiagu, you love the length, and you love that athleticism, but no one can force turnovers the way that UConn can. No one is out there pressing the way that UConn can, and nobody has the length and athleticism and versatility that UConn does on the perimeter. Yes, RJ Cole is about 5'9". I get it, but everything else makes up for it. Adama Sanogo, underrated rim protector. Akok, underrated rim protector. Two, when Adama Sanogo is on the floor, UConn is one of the best three-point shooting teams in college basketball. They're shooting better than 40% from three. When he's out there, they can play inside, out. You have to double team Adama when he touches the ball on the block. And that allows them to kind of get the ball moving and get space going on the perimeter. Now, if there's one concern that I have for them, it's they only have that one playmaker. But I'll tell you what, man, RJ Cole, he might have started his career at Howard. He might have started his career in the MEAC. But that dude is a tough Big East basketball player through and through. You watch the way that he handles the physicality. You watch the way that he handles being the target of every game, of every team's scouting report every time that he's out there. You take him away and you cut off the head of the snake, and UConn doesn't really know what to do offensively. So to me, when you put it all together, we haven't seen UConn hit their ceiling yet. And this is the best way to put it to you, T.O. Right now, UConn's record is 13-4 overall. Right now, those 4 losses that UConn has are to NCAA tournament team Michigan State by 4, NCAA tournament team West Virginia by 3, NCAA tournament team Providence by 4, NCAA tournament team Seton Hall by 3 in overtime. They've lost 4 games by 14 points. They're about 6 possessions away from being undefeated with a win over the Auburn Tigers, who should be the number 1 team in the country. Boom. There you go. You can't argue with that. Dagan, can we get that audio of Penny Hardaway's press conference? I'm not even going to let you guys respond.
I can't even respond to that. What is RJ Cole playing 42 minutes a game?
Yeah, he's locked in, baby. Let's go. Let's get to that audio of Penny Hardaway's press conference tonight.
I think the one thing I can say to this media, because this media gets kind of up sometimes when it comes to me, we don't have our full roster. Y'all know we don't have our full roster. Stop asking me stupid questions about if I feel like I can do something. If I had my roster like they did, then I feel like I can do whatever I want to do. I'm coaching really hard. My boys are playing really hard. I'm not embarrassed about nothing. We have 4 freshmen starting. Y'all need to act like it. Act like we got 17 to 18 and 19-year-olds out here trying to learn how to play against 22, 23, and 24-year-old guys. Come on, man. Stop disrespecting me, bro. Like, don't do that. I work too hard. I work way too hard for that. Y'all write all these articles about me, and all I do is work. We got young kids on the floor. They got young kids on the floor.
T.O., that man is not happy right now. What do you make right now of the Penny Hardaway era and how things are going in Memphis?
We've talked about it when talking about other teams too. Seton Hall, who we talked about just before this break, and you blasphemously talked about UConn being the best player and the best team in the Big East, but we'll talk about that later. Here's the thing. You come into Memphis and you ask for all the smoke, you're going to get all the smoke. And one thing that the NCAA tournament's not going to take into account this year is circumstance. I think we've established that. And another thing too is like, hey, Penny, you might be playing 4 freshmen. Those are 4 5-star freshmen. Like, these are talented kids. Duke's playing with a lot of freshmen. There's a lot of different teams playing with a lot of freshmen. And you just blamed your older players not too long ago for your freshmen not playing well. So, like, what is it? It's a strange dynamic. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. First and foremost, they did not start 4 freshmen tonight. They started 3 freshmen tonight. 2, he talks about all of these people that they're missing. They're really only missing 2 guys, Landers Nolly and DeAndre Williams, and really only one of them matters because Penny Hardaway, for all that he's talking about this roster that he built, if he had that available, his teams cannot win if DeAndre Williams does not play. His teams cannot win if that 25-year-old that they have is not available to him. So look, I get that he's frustrated. I get that the media there is really hard on him. Like the culture in Memphis is basketball. That city loves their Tigers. But you came out saying you wanted all the smoke. You got 2 5-star freshmen. But by the way, you forgot to add a point guard, Ashton. They don't have a point guard.
Yeah, and that's been their biggest issue, man. And I think that's how he got Amani Bates, was telling him he was going to be the point guard. And then it was just a different story once he stepped on the court. So anytime you have 2 of the top freshmen, 2 of the top high school guys in the country with Jalen Duren, Amani, and the hype they bring, it's going to be some type of pressure. It's going to be media that are connected to you. So much is given, much is tested, right? At the end of the day. So Penny, Memphis, they got to step it up at the end of the day. I think it's just not an excuse at the end of the day. Like once you talking about circumstance, like T.O. said, at the end of the we're still playing basketball and we're expecting a lot from these young guys. And I think they can do it. It's just, Amani, he's had some lapses, and even Jalen, I think their approach to the game, their sense of urgency, I think that's been the biggest change when it comes to high school to college basketball, playing possession by possession. Doesn't really matter, not only on the offensive end, but defensively, consistently. That's been the issue with
here's my biggest thing is he put together a flawed roster. There's no way around it. He put together a flawed roster. They do not have a point guard. Those are pretty important in college basketball. We've seen it over the years. You look at the last 12 national champions, 10 of them played with 2 point guards, not just 1, but 2 point guards. And Penny's only point guard is a 17-year-old chucker. That's what he went in with this season going around. The 17-year-old that all he did at Peach Jam was shoot. T.O., we watched him play. All he did was shoot at Peach Jam.
Not a whole lot of passing.
6'7", weighs 185 pounds. So, like, you built a bad roster. You can sit here and complain about not having players available. You know what? Every team doesn't have players that are has players that are missing. Everybody's going through it. Everybody's young. Everybody's dealing with that stuff too. My biggest takeaway from this is that when you start cussing out the media, when you start saying things like Like I work too effing hard. Y'all write all these articles about me. All I do is work. Stop asking me stupid effing questions. Like that's when you know that it's gotten to the point where like, I don't know if this is going to work. Because once the media in that city turns on you, they ran Tubby Smith up out of there. He had back-to-back 21 seasons to hire Petty. They've been kissing your behind for the last 4 years. And look, at the end of the day, you did not get it done the last 3 seasons. Yes, you won an NIT championship. You probably should have been in the tournament with that team, right? There's no excuse for not making the tournament with this group, with Amani Bates, with Jalen Duren, with Larry Brown on your bench, with Rasheed Wallace on your bench. But listen,
I'm out.
Guys, hold on. We gotta go to a break.
I was about to say we gotta go to break, right?
Yeah. We gotta come back. We'll continue talking about Penny as soon as we come out of this break. We also had Jim Larinaga joining us when we come out of this break. But I do not need my producer Dave Hughes getting any more mad at me than he is on a daily basis. So we will see you guys back here in about 2 minutes. Dagan, are we good?
No.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, you're clear.
All right, so we're doing, for the people that are watching on YouTube and Twitter right now, we're doing a quick Q&A for the next minute and 20 seconds before we come back. So guys, you have about 10 seconds to answer each one of these questions. This one is from Righteous Minds Comedy. You can ask these in the YouTube chat. The first one is Goodman is from Righteous Minds Comedy. For the record, Goodman like killed the Mike Woodson hire. Righteous Minds Comedy, is Goodman ducking and dodging the heat right now? Is that what's happening?
I've heard no comments from since they did win, so I have no idea. I haven't heard from Goodman, so I would assume there's a little bit of ducking and dodging going on.
100%.
100. So
30 seconds.
Yeah, Andy Stump wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Woodson era so far? Ashton, give me it in 10 words or less.
I like it. I think he's doing a wonderful job in a short period of time, for sure.
T.O.?
Wear a suit, get busy in Assembly Hall. I love it so far.
15.
All right. I love this one. Last one real quick from 82 Atlantic. Should
10.
Memphis do what Auburn did and self-impose a postseason ban right now?
Yes.
5.
Yes. Yeah.
Going live.
And we're back to talk a little bit more about Penny Hardaway. T.O., you got any closing thoughts on our favorite coach down there in Memphis?
Well, you said he put together a flawed staff. How about, a flawed roster? He put together a flawed staff. Nobody even knows where Sheed's at. Like, there's a lot going on. There's so much to unpack in Memphis. We need to call our guy back down there. Was John? We need to get John. But yeah, we need to get John Martin back on here, and hopefully he can untangle this web of disaster that's happening down there at the Forum. Like, unbelievable.
Ashton, anything else on Penny before we move on?
Oh no, man. It'll get better with time, man. It'll get better.
I don't know if he's going to have much more time. Like how much if you can't, here's the thing. If you can't win when you have one of the greatest basketball minds in the history of the sport on the bench next to you, if you can't win with a group of guys that came back from last season off of the NIT, adding 2 5-star freshmen to that mix, if you can't win with the talent that he has on that roster right now, if you can't recognize that you don't need, like that you need a point guard and you can't use a 17-year-old chucker as the guy running the show for you, like I just don't think it's going to end up working, man. And if he's already combating with the media like this, he ain't Jim Boeheim, he ain't Jim Calhoun. Like there's guys that can go at him like that. Like this is just, I don't know, man. I think this is probably one of those situations where you could say it's the beginning of the end.
The only thing that would have been better in the whole rant is after he said he works too effing hard, he just shouted Wu-Tang and just walked out. Like that would have made it the absolute best walk-off press conference of all time. It would just put a cherry on top. There's just so much to unpack there. I mean, it's frustrating for him, you can tell, because they do have talent, guys. I mean, we're not lying to anybody. It's hard to put together a roster full of young guys and a mixture of old guys. You think they've got it figured out. I mean, even those older guys, they were highly recruited guys too. And it makes it's frustrating for them. And everybody has aspirations. He's having a hard time managing not only the players, but his own. And it's made for a difficult situation.
And
Yes,
it just shows you the premium and into having a point guard. That's what college basketball is about, especially as you get deep into the conference play, into NCAA tournament play. It's a guard's game, man. So yeah, I think it's the beginning of the end, like you said, Rob.
Yeah, I laugh every time that he complains. Oh man, we have to play all of these freshmen. Like, 2 weeks ago he was complaining about how all of the older guys that won him an NIT championship are upset that he's playing all of these freshmen. Like, those are the guys you wanted to play. That's why you pissed off Landers Nale and DeAndre Williams, because he wanted to play these dudes. So you can't have it both ways, Penny. Anyway, this is the Field of 68 After Dark. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Sirius XM, Channel 84, ESPNU. My name is Rob Doster. Joining me tonight, Ashton Gibbs, the Pit legend, and Terrence Oglesby, who was a legend in his own mind at Clemson. I want to talk about ACC. You played in the ACC, Terrence. Pitt, you were Ashton. You are now an ACC guy, kind of by default, because of where your program is currently sitting. The team sitting in first place is Miami. We're going to be joined by Jim Larrañaga here in about 2 minutes. But I want to ask you guys this: the story on the season so far has been that it's like a one bid ACC. Miami's in first place. They just won it, Duke. They're probably a tournament team, right, T.O.?
And they beat the life out of Carolina in the next game at their own place. And when I say the life out of Carolina, by the time second half rolled around, didn't even look like they wanted to be there. Look, this Miami team, and Larrañaga is going to talk about it, they're old wins. I feel like I've said it all year long, old wins, and having players that can create off the dribble when your offense breaks down at the end of the shot clock is so crucial at high level basketball in the collegiate setting, because Isaiah Wong is so creative with the ball. Cam McGusty is finally healthy. This is a roster that over the past 2 years has struggled to stay healthy. Sam Wardenberg's a big piece. I mean, having a 5-man that can shoot the ball and space the floor, significant, especially when you have guards that can get to the rim the way they do. Floor spacing's at a premium there. They've got guys who can shoot the ball, and they've got guys who can create. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Ashton, what is the value of being a veteran? You played at Pitt for 4 years. What happens when you get old? We talked about how old the guards are at Miami. Where does the value lie? Where does that impact your game?
You just know what to expect. You know what to expect. Everybody, and you usually just cave into your role. Everybody accepts their role, and you basically, everybody hangs out. They know what it takes to win for the most part. And the longer you're there in college, the more you usually want to win at the same time. I know guys want stats, but guys ultimately want a good experience winning also. And that's what Miami's doing with, Charlie Moore, Jordan Miller, McGusty. These guys are older guys, and Isaiah Wong plays older in a sense. And I think he does a great job of creating for himself and creating for others. But like you said, Rob, getting old, being veterans, you know what to expect. And even when you go into hostile environments, we talked about playing in away games and these raucous environments, you know what to expect when you're going into certain places, and guys stay together even when teams get on runs. So that's huge.
All right, so we were joined by Coach Larrañaga earlier on tonight, so we're going to go to that interview right now. And now let me welcome to the Field of 68 After Dark Miami head coach Jim Larrañaga. Jim, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here.
Well, nice to talk with you guys, and looking forward to hearing some of your very intelligent questions.
only the best questions here. So I'll start you off with this one. You guys were picked 12th in the ACC preseason poll out of 15 teams. You're sitting here today. It's January 18th, and you guys are first place in the conference. Did you see this coming?
Well, first of all, I didn't pick us 12th, and I don't pick. I let the prognosticators and all these experts decide where we belong. What my staff and I do is try to prepare our players to be the best team that we can be. And right now we've played well enough to have won 10 of our last 11 games and to have only one loss in the ACC. But we've got a lot of games still ahead of us, and we're not counting our chickens before they're hatched. So we're taking one game at a time. We've got Florida State on Saturday, and looking forward to playing them.
Hey, Coach, not meaning to jinx anything, but you guys have been healthy this year. Over the course of the last couple of years, you've dealt with a lot of injuries. Sam Wardenberg didn't play last year. Cam Auguste's finally in, and he's a full-time player now. That's obviously been big for you guys, given your success so far.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. The injuries killed us, especially last year. We had 12 scholarship players on the team, and 6 of them were out for the season. We lost Chris Likes, an all-conference player. We lost Sam Wardenberg, who you see how impactful he is. Rodney Miller was out. Earl Timberlake, who's now transferred and playing at Memphis. So we had a lot of injuries to deal with, and we played some good games. Now, we beat Louisville. We beat Purdue. We had some very nice wins. We beat Duke last year. But, for a team that only had 6 scholarship guys and a couple of walk-ons, you're really not able to prepare the way you'd like to for every game.
Talking about this year's roster, you guys are old. I mean, 6-year guys. I mean, that's pretty significant. We joke all the time, like these guys are old enough to buy a beer. You guys are old enough to drive cars, or rent cars rather. So how much does that help? You guys got a big win up at Duke. That's huge. Having older players going into atmospheres like that, I'm curious your thoughts on having older guys in that kind of situation.
Well, I think one of the keys that has worked so well for us, and this is really a challenge for all college coaches, you have so many new guys. Half our team is new. We have 3 freshmen, 2 transfers, and then we've got Sam Wardenberg and Rodney Miller, who were injured and didn't play last year. So that's 7 guys of our 14. And you're trying to build unity, chemistry. And what's been so beautiful, these older guys like Charlie Moore, who's in his 6th year, Jordan Miller, who's in his 4th year, have joined our program and have just adapted their games to accommodate our needs. And they are sensational. 2 terrific kids, 2 terrific players. They're both in the starting lineup. They're both playing about 30 minutes a game. They're scoring in double figures. They're assisting. They're playing great defense. And they've been so well embraced by the returning players. Isaiah Wong and Cam Auguste, our leading scorers. They love playing with Charlie and Jordan. And then having Sam back and him healthy, and having some good freshmen to come in, and an Anthony Walker who started for us last year and now comes in off the bench. So we've got good experience, older guys, but we also have a lot of youthful enthusiasm because these guys, they've been beat up a lot. They've lost a lot throughout their careers, and they're finally enjoying success the way that they've earned.
When the FBI investigation first happened, I think it was like 5 years ago now, you guys were kind of lumped in the mix, but nothing ever came of it. You guys were clear. No charges ever resulted from it. How much did that impact your program over the course of the last couple seasons? Was there any kind of residual effect there?
Well, Rob, to be honest with you, it was devastating. My staff and I, we worked very, very hard to keep the spirits up, but for 2 solid years, we couldn't recruit. It happened. What was it? The year 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
And we had just gotten a verbal commitment from Sadiq Bey. How good is Sadiq Bey? He's now, 2 and done in the NBA. He was on the all rookie team. And we had him, and we were involved with some other outstanding prospects and thought we were going to have a great recruiting class because we were losing Bruce Brown and Lonnie Walker. Well, you lose those 2 great players, but you replace them with great players, you can keep the ball rolling. But when the FBI investigation included us erroneously, all our recruits went elsewhere, and we didn't have the kind of recruiting classes we normally have, and ended up, with losing records. It was devastating.
So by my count, there are 4 coaches in the ACC that are over 70 years old. It's you, it's Coach K, it's Leonard Hamilton, and it's Jim Boeheim. Today, if we set up a shooting contest for the 4 of you guys, who's winning it?
I think we probably would all choose ourselves. But I can tell you, although if you made the shooting contest from 3, I don't have that range anymore. But we do a free throw contest every single day. It's called the free throw ladder. And you got to work your way up and down by beating a teammate. And one day we were missing one of our players. He's out sick. And one of the players needed someone to choose from. I said, well, choose anyone you want. You can choose a manager or something. He said, Coach, I choose you. And I said, you really don't want to do that. And he said, yeah, I do. So you have to shoot 25 free throws, 5 apiece. We tied at 22, and then I beat him in overtime, 28-27.
There we go.
If it was free throw shooting, I'd be fine. I don't know how Coach K does it. He's like me. I think he has 2 artificial hips. He may have a replaced knee. Boeheim's a different story. He probably still shoots now. That guy's in phenomenal shape. He's like 77 years old and still looks great. I don't know about Leonard. I don't think Leonard was a high scorer in college. He probably still can't shoot, but his teams probably play defense the way he did. His teams are ridiculous defensively.
Thank you for being here. Congrats on all the success this season. And hopefully you're going to keep winning. So we got to get you back on here again at a later date this season.
Yeah, we got to keep it rolling. Thanks, fellas.
It's always great to catch up with Coach Larrañaga. And now we're going to head to break. But when we come back, I am going to tell you guys what Shaedon Sharpe needs to do, what decision he has to make regarding the 2022 NBA draft and playing at Kentucky this season.
You're clear.
All right, we got some questions in the chat. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube right now, you hit that like button. You know what you do, Tio? You smash that like button. Drop something in the chat, ask us a question, interact with it. So here's the first question we got. I'm going to you first on this one, Ashton. When I ask the question, who is the Big East player of the year? Why is the answer Adama Sanogo?
Man, he affects the game so well, man. Those guys, not only offensively but defensively, I think he just changes the game for UConn. I like RJ Cole, believe it or not. I'm just a RJ Cole guy, man. He's from Jersey.
That's what I was gonna say. He's from Jersey.
He's a Jersey guy, but
that's what the answer is. All right, T.O., we got another question. On Monday, when the AP poll comes out, is Miami going to be ranked?
If they're not, there's an issue. I mean, that's 2 really impressive wins.
30
Not only should they be ranked, I think they should be like in that 2021 range. And I think it's well deserved after those 2 performances.
All right, I'm going to ask both you guys this. We got, 20 seconds left right now. So it's from Kyle Sanders. He says the Big Ten hasn't won a
15.
championship since 2000. Is this the year they get it done?
10.
yes.
Whoa.
No.
5 seconds.
No.
Contrarian. No. I don't know. Yes. No.
Here we go. You're live.
And welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. We are presented by our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ashton Gibbs, the Pitt legend, and Clemson's own Terrence Oglesby. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Sirius XM, Channel 84. That's the ESPNU station every night, 11 o'clock until midnight. Gentlemen, we got to talk about Shaedon Sharpe. So for people that don't know, Shaedon Sharpe is an athletic, powerful, 6'6" scoring wing. I think is probably the best way to phrase his game. He is currently currently enrolled at Kentucky. He was originally in the class of 2022. He graduated early. In November, he announced that he was heading to Kentucky at the semester break. He enrolled in January, and today there was a report from ESPN's Jonathan Givony that said that he is going to be eligible to apply for the NBA draft. It's a little bit murky how that process works. I don't think Givony would put that out there unless he got some kind of tip off that it is going to happen. And that's the way that it's going to end up going. But right now we have kind of a decision to make. If Sharp is going to be eligible for the plan was always to have him go early, train, practice, work out, and then play next season. Not play this year, play next season. But if he's eligible for the draft now, then that could end up changing the plan. So I want to ask you guys this. Tio, I'm going to go to you first on this one. You've coached at that level. You've coached at the ACC. You've played in the ACC. You've played professionally all over the world. So if you are coaching Kentucky, if you're Coach Cal, would you even want to try to work him in this season? And what would the difficulties be in trying to get him up to speed when we're already in the middle of January?
Well, the biggest thing is Kentucky's starting to play so well. I mean, a big win over Tennessee where they just absolutely throttled them. And I talked down on that win a little bit because I thought Tennessee was poor, but then they rebound, go down to College Station in another tough environment, underrated environment, College Station, Texas A&M. They go down there and win against a much improved Buzz Williams squad. And they're starting to figure each other out. And then you're going to throw another person in the mix. Now, this person they're throwing in the mix is super talented, should be the number one player in the class. He is that gifted of a scorer. So talent wins. Guys, we know this. Talent in the mid-season. I don't know that there's ever been a comparable situation happen. I was kind of thinking back, like, who's the last guy to do something like this? I don't know that there is one.
Diallo also at Kentucky was something similar, but it's not. This is like,
he's not Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, it really only happens at Kentucky. So real quick, Tio, we watched him at Peach Jam this year. I know you've seen him play before. Break down his game a little bit. Tell us what he is as a player.
He reminded me of a bigger, stronger, more athletic Lou Williams. And I'm talking about the Lou Williams. I'm talking about Lemon Pepper Lou right now. That Lou Williams. That's my main man. I love Lou Williams. I think he's a terrific player. But at about 4 inches of height and about 20 pounds, and you have Shaden Sharp. And imagine what that would do to Lou Williams' game. And people forget Lou Williams was the number one rated player in the country his senior year in high school. That was a high-level guy. And just a talented scorer and somebody who can get places off the dribble. He's a plus shooter, supreme athlete. I mean, he is that level of a player. And in my opinion, guys, a talent like that, you need to figure it out. Like, he is that kind of player.
Yeah, and before anybody criticizes Lou Williams, I didn't know that was a thing that people did, that they criticized Lou Williams. He's been in the NBA for 16 years. Do you know how good you have to be to last in the NBA for 16 years and play at the level that Lou Williams has? Are there people that don't realize that this dude's like one of the top 100 basketball players on the planet
right now in year 16?
Yeah, I didn't know that there was Lou Williams slander that was out there like that. All right, Ash, let me ask you this then. For the counterpoint, Shaden Sharp graduated, I believe it was in the late summer. I think maybe in October. It was before the NBA season technically started, which is why they believe that they have a chance to be able to get him eligible for this year's draft. But this is not quite the same scenario as Amani Bates. Shaden Sharp was born 7 days after Jabari Smith. He's already 18 years old, right? He turns 19 in May. So he's supposed to technically be, by his age, a freshman right now. But he's like, it was a weird kind of development for him, right? Like, he was an unknown recruit until about a year ago, and he kind of blew up, and then he led the EYBL in scoring and shot up to become the number one prospect in the country after Amani Bates and after Jalen Duren reclassified and went to Memphis. So if you were advising him, if you were Shaden Sharp, anybody that's in basketball knows this, if you were Shaden Sharp's guy, what would you be telling him to do? Would you tell him to play? Would you tell him to go to the draft? Would you tell him to keep working out and enter the 2023 draft? Like, what's your play here? What do you think he should do?
I think he should enter the 23 draft. And the reason why I say that is experience, get the college experience, collect your NIL money, and then play against all of the top talent in the country, man. I just think maybe I'm a little biased. I just think there's something to a college experience for a kid. Just going into, we just talked about atmospheres. We just talked about different environments in college, and something you rarely see not to that level, I would say, in the NBA. It's just a completely different lifestyle. So I would just say enjoy college while you have it. The NBA will be there. Like we know he's ultra talented, but ultimately he'll still get paid through the NIL and in general. So work out, do what you got to do on the court, and just be a college kid, man. Enjoy the experience.
He might be he might take a pay cut to go to the NBA with NIL at Kentucky. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a basketball crazy state.
Like,
that is a basketball
making a
crazy
joke.
place.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I'm 100% serious. Like with all the things, Kentucky, that's the only show in Kentucky. Cause I mean, Louisville's fallen off the planet, but like right now, Kentucky is, I mean, there's so much money in Kentucky. I mean, I was roommates with Andrew Harrison on the road in the G League. He's like, man, I couldn't believe it. These people who owned all these horses, they named their horses after me. I was like, wow. Imagine if they could have paid him then. Just imagine. Let's just imagine for a moment if they could have. Like those guys would have made him a lot of money too.
I actually agree with that as well. It's a little different for Shaden simply because he's already 18. But like for someone in a Monty Bates situation, I never think that it makes sense to rush, right? You don't need to rush your timeline. Everyone has their own timeline. You don't need to rush it. Yeah, just take the steps, get there. It's less important to get drafted than it is to get to that second contract. Because when you get drafted, you're going to make some money. Your bank account's going to look nice. You're going to buy a nice car. You're going to be able to put a down payment on a house. You want to get generational wealth. Last 16 years in the NBA, like what Lou Williams did. That's how you go from being a guy that has some money to being someone that is rich. All right, so we got a minute left, guys. I'm going to put you both on the spot. 30 seconds. I want to know right now, who do you think is the one team that is the most underrated team in the country? T.O., give me somebody that you think is going to make a run here late in the season. You got 30 seconds.
Florida State. Look, they're starting to play really well. They've got 2 big time wins at home. The Seminole faithful are really angry at me right now because of my power rankings, but they're starting to come together. And John Butler Jr., I called it. That is a talented man at 7'1", playing the 2 position. Give me Florida State. They get better as the season rolls on.
Ashton, you got someone for me?
I'm on the Miami train, man. I'm on the Miami train right now. Isaiah Wong, Larinaga has those guys playing really well. They should be top 25, man. They're a little underrated, but I think they're a really good team. Number 1 in the ACC, man.
I'm going to tell you this. Both of you guys are wrong because the correct answer is the Oregon Ducks. They are rolling right now. They just went into UCLA. They just went into USC. They're sweeping everybody. They're not playing tonight because Washington State has COVID, but it is what it is. But anyway, listen, guys, we appreciate everyone that's tuned in. If you're listening on Sirius XM, we're about to head over to YouTube right now to do the After Dark. Afterwards, we hang out there for about 10 or 15 minutes. We have ourselves a little beverage and we answer some questions. So if you're tuning in, we appreciate you coming by every night at 11 p.m. The Field of 68 After Dark.
You guys are good?
All right. It's the After Dark Afters. Ladies and gentlemen, hit us with those questions. Anything that you want to ask us about, we are here to answer it for you. It's oh yeah, there's nothing better than that sound. Little raspberry White Claw to cap off the night.
I remember my first beer.
All right, so
downhill from there.
Yeah, we need some questions in the chat. So if you're in the YouTube chat right now, hit us with some questions. I want to start you guys off with this. So San Francisco right now is playing Gonzaga. It's live. It's the end of the first half. Gonzaga's up 33-30. T.O., how good do these teams in the WCC have to play, and do they have to get a win over the Zags to be able to make it as an at-large team?
I would assume so. There's not too many quality wins on their schedule. Now, San Francisco started out great, not good. They started out great, but still finding quality wins is an issue. So I'm assuming they have to at least beat Gonzaga. It's kind of the same position the ACC's in. You beat Duke, you have a better shot at getting in. But West Coast Conference. Maybe San Fran, you got to beat Gonzaga, you'll be good.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. The top of the league is really good, and there's probably going to be a bunch of teams that have enough of these computer numbers to get through, but it's tough, man. It's tough. All right, let me ask you this, Ashton. 82 Atlantic wants to know, is St Bonaventure overrated?
No, I don't think so. You talk about veterans, we talk about seniors, Kyle Lofton, Osuna.
I knew you were going to say something about him.
Kyle Lofton, man, that's my guy right there. That's my
Where's
guy.
he from?
He's from Jersey. He's a Jersey. Osuni, that's another Jersey guy as well, man. But I like Mark Schmidt, to be honest. I think I just think the way their offense is, they execute, and they clean around the basket. I think Osuni around the basket, he's blocking everything. But when it comes down to the conference play and even getting into the NCAA tournament, I think those guys are really step it up. I think they're proven, and then they're veterans all in all.
Ashton, let me ask you this question. Where are you from in Jersey?
North Jersey, man. I'm from Scotch Plains. Went to Seton Hall Prep.
Scotch Plains.
I have a soft spot for Seton Hall.
Seton Hall Prep.
Yes.
Where does Seton Hall play their home games?
Seton Hall University?
Yeah.
Prudential Center.
Oh,
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark,
Yes.
New Jersey. All right. Do you remember when St Bonaventure went to Newark, New Jersey and played a game at the Prudential Center?
I do.
What happened?
Yeah, the Bonnies, man, it didn't look good. I'm pretty sure Kyle didn't play that game though.
No,
Did Kyle play? He didn't play that game.
No,
that was a big one.
The worst colors, like that brown.
Oh, that's oh my
the
God.
worst, like universe. Like I understand, but you got a lot of pride in your school, whatever. The worst not the mascot's fine, but the jersey colors, they leave a lot to be desired.
And literally nothing to do around there. Where's St. Bonaventure?
Oh, really? I've never been up there.
Middle of nowhere.
Olean. I don't even know how you pronounce it.
Olean, New York. Yeah.
Yep. All right. This is from TO's guy, David Bentley, who's in the YouTube chat right now. He wants to know, you got to put your house on the line right now, TO. You got to bet your house on it. Auburn or Baylor? Who you got?
In a game or to go further?
I
need context, Bentley. Get it together.
I'm just giving you what's in the YouTube chat right now. I can't do any more than that.
I mean, right now, Baylor in the tournament. Right now, Auburn, excuse me, in the tournament, Baylor. Just because I think Baylor's length around the perimeter is going to give so many teams problems when it comes to just being able to rotate. I think Baylor is elite in that aspect, and they're going to get back together after losing 2 in a row. Billy just came back in the comments and said game. If I had to pick a game right now, I'd pick Auburn because they just have a lot of guys right now that are playing at their peak in mid-January, which you may or may not want.
Yep. All right, Ashton, this one is for you. Texas right now. Your brother played there for 2 years, right? Was it 2 years that he played there?
Just 1 year. 1 year. Rick Barnes. Yeah.
So what do they have to do moving forward? How does Texas fix this? Can they fix this?
Their front court. I just think they need more out of Trey Mitchell. They need more out of their front court. But I think their sense of urgency, they don't play hard enough. They're not aggressive enough. And Chris Beard kind of said that in his last press conference, is how hard they just don't bring it consistently. And their sense of urgency just isn't there consistently, and I think that's their biggest issue.
So you know what? This might be a hot take. You know what my thing is with Texas? I just don't think they have good enough players. Right?
Boom.
Really? Well, no. When we're talking about teams that should be national champions, right? And we're talking about teams that should be Final Four teams. We're talking about guys that are loaded with pros, generally speaking, right? Whether maybe it's a bunch of lottery picks, maybe it's a bunch of guys where you're like, that dude is gonna, whether or not he ends up playing in the NBA, he's gonna go make 6 figures, 7 figures a year overseas. Like you said, that dude's a pro, and you say it about multiple dudes on their roster. Who do you say it about on that Texas team?
Marcus Carr, maybe.
I guess, but he's never won. Like, you're a point guard and you've never won. You're a shoot first point guard and you're inefficient. So that's my biggest thing with Texas is they were supposed to be this group of great college players that were going to figure it out, and they haven't been able to figure it out. And there's just no there. Who's the NBA player for both you guys? Who's the NBA player right now in Texas?
Well, Trey Mitchell was supposed to be that guy, but he was in the A10. So that's not the Big 12. That's basically he's in for a rude awakening basically right now.
I think a lot of what you're saying is valid, like, because when you look at the Big 12, like that conference, look at the teams they have to beat in order to get there. The talent is not on par with the rest of that conference. You look at Baylor, like all those guys. I mean, look at Kendall Brown, Jeremy Sochan. I mean, those aren't just draft picks; those are first round picks. You look at Kansas, Ochai Agbaji, like a lot of guys, and that's a tough league. I mean, even Oklahoma State, who doesn't really have much to play for, they've got athletes all over the floor. I would venture to guess they're much more athletic than Texas. So I agree with you. I mean, one, they're not very athletic. That top end talent too is just not where it needs to be, in my humble opinion.
In your humble opinion. All right, we gotta bring up some more questions here. I'm going to handle this one. I know T.O. does not like having to worry about tournament profiles or net ratings or anything of that nature. I forget the name. Hold on. I should know. I got to know the name. I got to write these things down.
Somebody asked about Arkansas. Somebody asked about Arkansas too. There's
we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to talk about the whether or not the Mountain West is going to be a 2-bid league, and I think it absolutely is. I think that both San Diego State and Colorado State are going to make it. I think that there is an outside chance that someone like a Wyoming could get there if they could find a way to beat San Diego State or beat Colorado State. Wyoming has very, very good metrics. Boise State's got a little bit of an outside chance, but right now San Diego State is 3-3 against the top 2 quadrants, and they have one quad 1 win against, I am forgetting, it was St. Mary's on a neutral. Colorado State right now is 4-1 against the top 2 quadrants, and they have one quadrant 1 win against Creighton on a neutral court. They beat St. Mary's at home. They beat Mississippi State on a neutral. They won at home against Utah State. I think both of those teams are going to get in. I think both of them do a fantastic job, and I think we're going to end up seeing a 2-bid Mountain West. If for no other reason, like, where the bids got to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah,
someone's got to get in. It's not like there's all these teams in there. We've kind of accepted that the ACC is going to get a minimum of 4, right? No matter what happens.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, the Americans a 1-bid league. Are we really going to get 2 out of the Atlantic 10 this year? Right? Like the WCC, we just talked about how, it would be fun if they could get 4, but they're probably more like a 3-bid league, right? Maybe a 2-bid league, especially if BYU keeps going down. Someone's got to get these bids, man. This is called the field of 68 for a reason.
Unless like the American, like somebody, how's Houston doing since they've had all those injuries? Sorry to
up everybody, but they're all bad teams.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to make the tournament, aren't they? I mean, they've been good. They were good in the non-conference. So say Memphis gets hot in the tournament, makes a tournament, sets the world ablaze. Penny Hardaway's telling everybody off because he's got his old players back. Like, that'd be big time. So 2 American conference teams.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't believe in that?
Well, I maybe they'll get there, but like my biggest thing is that there's just not a lot of good things. They just lost to East Carolina, man. Like, you blew it. You can't lose to East Carolina. There is a law that you cannot lose to East Carolina and make it to the NCAA tournament. I'm sorry if there's any East Carolina fans that are listening right now. All right, let me ask you guys this. This comes from Alex Burngard. Ashton, I'm going to you first on this one. Iowa State, do they have enough offense to be a Sweet 16 type of team?
No, I don't think so. I obviously I like them, but in terms of I just don't think so overall. Do they shoot it well enough? How, consistent do they shoot it? And then identity at the end of the day. I love Brockington, but you take him out of the mix. Like, do they have consistent fire punch? And I just don't think so.
Yeah.
Iowa State better be worried, man. They're 2-4 in league, and some of their metrics on KenPom when you go to conference only don't look good. I mean, 7th in offense, 8th in defense, which has kind of been their calling card. They're going to have to guard in the power in conference too. I think that's worrisome. They're going to have to find a way to win at home against TCU and in Oklahoma State. That's a tough game, man, especially with the athletes they have. But they're going to have to figure it out. I like what Otzelberger's done because he's put together a lot of old guys, but
he's changed the
offensively
culture
there.
there.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
To change. He changed Iowa State from being a team that like scores a bunch, but you're kind of like, yeah, they're not going to get stops, but they're going to score in the 80s, and if they're hitting their threes, they're going to win. To being a team that's like you're going to have to actually fight them to win, right? Like they're a team that's now we'll win the fight, and if we win the fight, then we probably will win the basketball game as well.
Well, he's got a completely new roster, so sure, I guess the culture part too. He's completely recycled the roster. So.
Yep. You mentioned Arkansas earlier. I can't remember who asked that. Someone asked that in the chat earlier tonight. Talk to me, Tio, about Arkansas.
I mean, Rob Hotchkiss, my main man,
Hotchkiss.
Rob. They've been to me probably the most disappointing team in that league, if truth be told, and it's shocking because they brought in so much talent. Now they have won their last 3. That's significant. They're starting to play better, but the last 3 were, well, I guess Missouri, got to beat them, ended up beating them by 43 points. Then LSU, that's a good win. And they won at LSU. That's a big time win. South Carolina at home. They got Texas A&M next. I think that's a good test. They got them at home, but it's they have the talent. It's just a matter of finding out the right way to play guys together because they've got a lot of new faces too. I mean, Chris Likes was another pick guy that jumped ship like Tony.
All these Tony, yeah.
Yeah, the ex-pick guys are everywhere, man. These pick guys, man, if they
Trying
would
to
just
get
stuck
out.
if they would have just stuck at the petting zoo, like they would have been good to go. like there would have been no issues. But
That's why they left, man.
they'd been top 20. Stay at the petting zoo, you're top 20.
I will say this about Arkansas. Last year, January 2nd to January 16th, they lose to Missouri, they lose to Tennessee, they beat Georgia, they lose to LSU, they lose to Alabama. Now, those teams are a lot better than the teams that they lost to this year, but same kind of thing. December 11th to January 8th, lose to Oklahoma, lose to Hofstra, which is something that you can't do. Hofstra did not have their best player. They lost at Mississippi State. That's not great. They lost at home to Vanderbilt. Yeah, you don't want to do that. And they lost at Texas A&M, which, is not a horrible loss.
Which is turning into be an okay loss, really.
Yeah, the Texas A&M might be a tournament team when things are all said and done if they can kind of find a way to keep winning. But I think that they might figure it out. Like Muss is just one of these dudes that finds a way to figure it out. That's what he does.
Yeah. He's done it everywhere he's been. And master motivator will get those guys back on the right track. He'll sell it as they all doubted us, like the whole 9. I like Arkansas. I like their teams. I like their pieces they put together. It's just, I guess they didn't like coming back from Christmas. Christmas break was not friendly to the Hogs. I think that's the biggest thing.
They
Christmas
play
break.
They play hard from us, man. I think overall, like he gets his guys to play really, really hard. They almost take on his persona. They dive on loose balls. They play really hard.
All right, 2 more questions. First and foremost, Utah is beating UCLA at home at halftime right now. It's 32-31. How worried are you guys about the Bruins?
I'm not worried, honestly. I love Tiger Campbell, Johnny Juzang, but winning pedigree, man. Mick Cronin, this is, he gets his guys to play hard, and they really defend. It's going to come down to making shots consistently for these guys, I think, and then point guard play. I think Tiger's underrated in terms of just making plays off the pick and roll and making things easier for those other guys.
I'm not worried. I mean, it's worried as far as getting back to the Final Four, then I probably would be a little bit more worried because I think they just rely on so many difficult shots, and that's not changing because of the style in which they play. Should we be worried? I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at them. They're 11-2. Their only losses are to Gonzaga on a neutral site and then Oregon, who's coming along nicely. Now, the Oregon thing obviously hurts because Oregon's pre-conference was not great, but I mean, this is a team they've got enough talent. They're figuring each other out. And sometimes when you make that kind of run, the pressure, it's mid-January. These are the dog days of the season. Like this is a time where guys kind of have to slog through it. You got to get through this mid-January to mid-February, but until people start talking about the tournament and the conference tournaments and all that stuff, this is the time where you just continue to grind through it. And they got to be careful not to get bored, but they've only got 2 losses. I don't know why I would be worried.
Yeah. What I will say is this: they don't have a home court. They have no fans in their building, which is kind of silly when you consider that 10 miles away, there were just 80,000 people in the Rams stadium for a playoff game. Yeah. But it is what it is. We don't need to go on that rant tonight. So they're coming off of their own 26-day stoppage, right? Yep. They have guys that are trying to get back in shape. They have guys that were sick when they got sick with COVID. So it's you come back from that, coming off of this great start to the season, and you walk into the building and there's no fans. It's hard to come back from while you're trying to get in shape, while you now have to go on the road and play at Utah and Colorado, which, by the way, like, I think since Utah and Colorado were added, there's been like 6 times where people have swept that road trip. It's hard. You got to go play 2 games in 3 days at altitude.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do, especially when you consider that Tad Boyle and the other Coach K are both very good at what they do. Last one for you guys, really quick. Scott Drew over Bill Self, yes or no?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Right now, yeah. I mean, historically, no. I mean, Bill Self is one of the most accomplished head coaches of all time. But right now, Scott Drew is 1A as far as coaches for what he's done and the roster he's put together and the turnaround job that he did at Baylor. Right now, at this very moment, I'm not talking about historically speaking, but at this very moment, Scott Drew is the coach in college basketball.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Right now, historically, Bill Self, he's proven basically, but I think Baylor's probably the best team in the country. Gotta be, and top to bottom when you talk about firepower on offense and the way they guard defensively, and you talk about sense of urgency and how hard they play. Easily one of the top teams in the country, man.
Yeah, I think Bill Self is better X's and O's. I think that I would say that Dan Dickow from the Bulldog broadcast, which is on the Field of 68 Media Network. He's calling this Gonzaga San Francisco game. I did not realize that. Anyway, I think that Scott Drew is a little bit better at like developing that culture. But you know what's crazy? Right now, Baylor has a more talented roster and is recruiting at a higher level than Kansas is.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with sanctions and people are waiting to see and all that stuff.
But it's still, I don't want context. I'm just giving you facts without any context. I don't need any context. All right. The way that we end these shows every night is it's a 3 cheers. You toast to something that's happened. Ideally, something that's happened that night, unless you're Jeff Goodman, and you just want to go entirely off script. So I'm going first to you, T.O. on this one. Who is your cheers of the night?
This is an easy one because he was on the show earlier, and I kind of cheat when it comes to all this stuff. But Rob Phinisee, he's probably at Kilroy's right now, and he's probably cheersing to somebody at this very moment. So good for him. He's dealt with a lot, guys. Like the IU faithful, they've been hard on him, and he's stuck around and he's kept plugging away, and they carried him off the floor tonight after winning at home over Purdue. That is a big time performance by that young man. I'm happy for him more than anything. So cheers to my main man, Rob Phinisee. To you, sir.
Cheers.
Ashton, go ahead.
I'm going to go Mike Woodson, man. I'm going to keep it in IU, but I'm going to go Mike Woodson just because he didn't have a lot of believers, especially in the beginning of the season. This was a huge win, top 5 win against a great coach as well, and proven Matt Painter. So I'm going to keep it at IU, but I think Mike Woodson definitely deserves it with what he's been able to do in such a short period of time. Cheers to Mike.
Cheers
to Mike.
Cheers to Mike Woodson.
I swear if you say Vassar.
No, they don't play it until tomorrow night. We got RPI on the road. RPI is first in the conference, Vassar is second. Biggest game of the year in the Liberty League coming up tomorrow night. Go Brewers. I'm going Kevin Ollie. I'm going a little bit off script.
How about that?
Kevin Ollie. Cheers to Kevin Ollie. Look, he did not coach in a basketball game tonight, but he did win a lawsuit against the University of Connecticut that will allow him to get his $11 million. And look, I don't think that Kevin Ollie is a very good basketball coach. I think that he drove the UConn program into the ground, and Dan Hurley is the guy that's starting to pull it back up and kind of get it back on his feet. But he was a legend when he played there. He was one of the first guys where I remember like watching him play when I was like 7 years old. He coached UConn to a national title. He coached them to a national title, 2014, 8 years ago. He won a national title with UConn. And I always thought that it was wrong the way that UConn handled that whole situation. So cheers to Kevin Ollie. Cheers to him getting his $11 million. You better be buying the next round if I ever see you, because that's $11 million is a lot.
Hey, he's almost as high. He's almost as high paid as Shaden Sharp is right now. We're good to go.
All right, everybody. This has been the Field of 68 After Dark. We have to let Dagan go, otherwise he is going to kill us. Producer Dagan Hughes. Thank you, Dagan. Thank you, Terrence. Thank you, Ashton. Thank you, Sirius XM. Thank you, Field of 68 After Dark. No thanks, Jeff Goodman.